Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the ABA Coffee in the Park. My name is Cam Milliken, and I'm here with my co-host extraordinaire, Jennifer Herrick, the Executive Director of the Atchison Business Association. Hi, Jennifer.
Well, good morning, Cam. How are you
Oh.
on this kind of chilly, kind of sunny day?
I know. It's a unique day, isn't it? But it's nice. We had snow the other day, and that's kind of melted.
Well, that's expected.
Yeah, so no, you know what? It's a great kind of sort of springish day. It's getting there, slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, so hey, everybody, we just want to let you know that we're coming to you live from the Wall Coffee Roasters in the heart of beautiful downtown Atchison. That's right. So if you hear some noise in the background, coffee machines whirring, people talking, kids screaming, it's because we're coming to you live. So don't worry about any of that. It just adds to the ambiance. Jennifer, tell us about some very important people.
Cam, we would like to thank our Gold corporate sponsors, which include the MyShack Group of Companies, Genix, Parkland County, and Bow Valley Credit Union.
That's right. Without them, we would not be able to do what we do. So we want to thank them. They're awesome people. Anything else we need to know or you want to tell us? No?
Let's just kick it off.
Why don't we just get right into it? Introduce our guest today.
Well, our guest today is Matt Schellenberger, who's the Director of Corporate Development for the Edmonton Construction Association.
Right on. Welcome, Matt. Good to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, this is great. So, hey.
We'll kick it off like we always do.
We ask this. The first question we ask everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Edmonton. I've spent most of my time in and around Edmonton. Grew up just west of Spruce Grove on Campsite Road, which is now Gen Highway.
Road.
Yeah.
So we've been absorbed, and I've moved north, so I live a little bit north of Spruce Grove now.
So I ask this question every time because I'm always curious. What high school did you go to?
Spruce Grove Composite.
Okay, go Spruce Grove.
Yeah.
What was the mascot?
The mascot. Oh my goodness!
I always ask that.
He asks this
Do we
question.
usually get it wrong?
No, some people don't
no
know.
idea.
I'm
Some
trying to
don't.
remember, right?
I don't know. Was it
Have a
an eagle
mascot?
or what was it? I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah. Panther. I mean, we were Panthers.
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
I
go
guess it was
Spruce
a
Grove.
Panther.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you play sports? Did you do anything like that?
Played sports, played volleyball, basketball,
Okay.
played soccer, and played on the high school teams.
Yeah, right on.
I was the short guy who tried to pretend he was as fast as he could be. I
I
was more of a defensive mind.
I know. I was like that too. I always pretended I was taller than I was.
Yeah,
Till
yeah.
reality sunk in. And then it was like,
I
you are what you are.
Yar.
So,
I think I reached
yeah.
my peak at about 14.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. It's great when you're 18 and can still get into the movies for child price.
It's true.
Yeah, it's great. That's it. Anyway,
So,
all
Matt,
right.
what did your mom and dad do then?
So my mom was a teacher.
Oh.
She taught in a variety of places. She actually taught in Enoch for a number of years.
Really?
Oh, really? Okay.
At
Yeah.
Kateskina, Millgrove for most of her career, and then eventually Woodhaven before she retired.
Okay.
Was she elementary, junior high, high school?
She started in junior high and then ended in elementary,
Okay.
but sort of bounced around between kind of grades 5 and 9.
Right. Were you ever in the school that she was teaching
I
in?
was not.
You were
She
not.
knew
Okay.
better.
Yeah. No. She knew
Well, we've had guests
We've
on
had
before
guests,
where
where
their
they were-
parents were teachers.
and that- I don't know if that went well. So, anyways,
you know what?
yeah.
I'm sure I would have been a handful.
Yeah.
And she knew better. So
That's good, okay.
I was also. I spent most of my junior high time in Stony Plain. So
Okay.
At
Okay.
Meridian Heights.
Yeah.
I was a French immersion student.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yeah,
Right
which
on.
was super fun.
Yeah.
Meridian Heights was a great school. It still is a great school.
Yeah.
But we had a really solid group of just people in sports and other things that we did.
Did you carry on with French immersion, or did you?
I did, yeah. So that's what took me back to Spruce Grove Composite,
Okay,
which had just taken on that program
Right.
at the time, and then I did my first year university at the Faculté Saint
Oh,
Jean.
you did? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
before-
fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
was,
really cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Eventually, the programming meant I went kind of to the U of A standard, but I always enjoyed my time doing
Good for
kind
you.
of French, and my kids are doing it now.
Yeah,
so that's
my
what
daughter
they
did
do.
the same.
Yeah.
But I ask her now, can you speak French? And she goes, no. Like
It's tricky if you don't keep
6
it.
years
Yeah.
of French. Could you talk French? No. Or I'll hear somebody talking French. I'll go, do you understand that? She goes, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what was that all about? What was that a waste of time, or what was that?
It's tricky.
But
You know
no,
what?
she would never trade it for anything. It was good.
Yeah,
So,
I
can you
enjoy
speak
it.
French?
I still can speak pretty
Yeah?
good French, but
Okay.
it's not like it's not as tight as it should
just
be
'cause you're not
we don't
doing it every
practice it
day.
as
Sure.
much.
Cool.
But I find, I travel a little bit down east, usually once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And of course, when you get down to Ontario, especially,
Yes,
you just hear so much more
Yeah,
of it, and it's
exactly.
nice to have.
Yeah.
I think it's, and
You're right. It is good to have.
Well,
I was
yeah.
offered a job once in Montreal, and I went down to check it out. And I went into everywhere I went into. They talked to me in French, so I said, "No, I didn't. I didn't take
Yeah.
the job."
No
It's
merci,
just like,
no merci.
no merci. English. They're looking at you. Like, anyways, no, didn't do the job. Okay, so high school, then you went into university.
University,
Yeah.
U of A. I was a dabbler, so I came out of university with a lot of interests, including music, education, girls, all the things, and
What degree is that? I'm just wondering what degree that
it
is.
sort of melded
Yeah.
into
a general arts
yeah.
degree.
It did, yeah. An honors history and poli-sci degree. Yes, it did. Yeah.
This is good. I love this.
It started in business.
Yeah.
That was statistics was not
Not
my
your thing.
friend.
Yeah.
But at the same time I was busy kind of with a band, and we were trying to become rock stars.
So,
Okay.
that-
No, we
This
want to talk
road.
about this. 'cause
Yeah.
You let this cat out of the bag a little while ago with us, and we've been talking about it ever since.
Oh,
So
yeah.
okay, Matt, so when did you get the bug for music? When did this all start?
So my mom did the momly thing and put me into piano lessons at about 6, 7. And that wasn't the beginning of the bug. That was the arduous, learn it, Bach, Beethoven,
Right.
all that stuff. But my mom, to her credit, and she tells me this story, she said sometimes she'd have conversations with our teacher, like my music teacher, and she'd say, he doesn't practice. And my mom would say, well, he practices with you a half hour a week. And that's all I need right now.
I love your mom.
So, she had patience.
Because can I just interject here? I know this isn't about me. My mom put me in piano lessons, and after the 3rd lesson, the teacher said to my mom, gave her money back and said, I don't think this is going to work. So that was
hit the wall.
That was after the 3rd lesson. I was done. So, anyway, sorry.
Luckily, she didn't give up.
No,
on me.
that's good.
Neither of them.
Yeah.
And
so how many years did you do piano?
So I kept going till about 12. It started to hit.
Oh, okay.
And then by then I had progressed.
Yeah.
And I learned some theory and some other things. But that's when you start as a young person. And I'm an only child, so I didn't have the older brothers or sisters saying, hey, learn this, do this.
Yeah.
But some friends started saying, hey, have you heard of this band called Nirvana or Pearl Jam or
The
Guns
bands.
N' Roses or
The
any of
bands.
those, right?
Yeah.
And so then it was, okay, well, excuse me, Mrs. Teacher. I can't remember her name, sorry.
If you're listening, it'll come to him eventually.
Can I learn November Rain instead of Ode to Joy? And
How'd that go?
and that was the beginning. And then from there, piano moved to guitar. And then I started getting together with some friends, and we started the journey. Right. And guitar was something I picked up really fast because I just had the energy for it. And then it went from very quickly from about 12, 13 to jamming in my parents, again, thanks Mom, my parents' living room at a lot of decibels.
Not even the garage.
It was living room, and then it was downstairs.
I had to go to the basement. I was drums, so it was like, you're in the basement, kid. Okay, great.
Wow. We were living room, and then my room downstairs, which was just below my mom's office, so she had vibration going through as she did her work after teaching. So from there it kind of took off for us a little bit through
so
high school.
How did you pick your bandmates?
I was gonna say.
So our singer, who's a local guy, Corey Haley, he's now principal at Memorial. He was a guy
Shout out to Memorial.
He was a guy that we knew could sing. He had been in Meridian Heights choral stuff. So, hey, you're the singer. My buddy Mike, you can play guitar. You're the guitar player. Can you teach me? Okay, good. do we know anyone who can play bass?
Yeah.
Oh, Andrew Gauthier doesn't play bass, but he wants to come hang out. Go buy a bass. Yeah.
You know what?
Great.
I hear this story about so many bands. The bass player never played bass.
Never played
and
bass.
all of a sudden the guys playing bass, and then they're like megastars. Anyways, okay. All right.
Yeah, and then our original drummer was my cousin, who was great, but he was 13 at the time. We were only 17.
Oh, okay.
But we, when we jumped to 18 and he's 14, my aunt said, "Yeah, maybe not."
Not the influence. Yeah.
No.
Okay. What was the band name?
So the band name was Haven.
Haven.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that took we went through a few iterations, but Haven became the one. And and we did our first album, if you want to call it that. Through a good friend, Shane Pierce is his name, but he recorded it at Millgrove School. In the library, on tape, for it was a 16-hour Sunday.
Wow!
We used Millgrove because Mom worked at Millgrove.
Yeah.
And we laid down an epic album. That still to this day we have.
Yeah.
It sounds like a bunch of 17-year-olds trying to record an album, but
Wow.
it was the start of something. So,
Where did it land on the charts?
Or did it top? We knocked out U2, if I remember right. No,
were you guys doing gigs and stuff?
So we started doing gigs then, and then it started to get a little bit more serious. So in university, there was a scene, and there was more of a scene around at that time than I would say there is now. So we started doing little shows. Spruce Fest.
Spruce Fest.
Wow.
Yeah,
Spruce Fest '99 was
But did you play Farmers Days and stuff like
we weren't ready for Farmers Days yet. But Spruce Fest we did at the Elks Hall.
At the Elks Hall.
Elks Hall, 14 bands or something like that.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then eventually we ended up more in the city and playing some of the clubs at the time, Sidetrack, Urban Lounge, other places like that.
Now, you still were in university?
Still in university. Then slowly things started happening. So we did a second album and got a manager.
Come on, a manager?
He was somebody who saw us at a pub on the south side. Came up, leather jacket, tall, about 6'5", long hair, glasses, loved us. And you're going... I'm kind of scared, but I'm interested. He ended up being amazing, actually.
Wow.
And helped us get a lot of great gigs over the years.
So, did you go beyond Edmonton?
We did eventually, So eventually we did, he sort of climbed this path, and there were some other bands doing it at the time. Tupelo Honey, Fifth Season, who became Social Code.
Social Code,
So some of those bands we were playing with. And then at that, you would start doing sort of bigger stuff. And we started doing that, which eventually got us to things like Stage 13, which with Nickelback.
Wow.
Some of those big shows and little tours around everywhere from basically Whitehorse down to the southern border and east.
Wow.
And then we recorded an album that cost King's Ransom at the time. But we paid it back.
So your third album?
It was our third album,
Wow.
And
that's that's great.
At a place called Power Sound with a gentleman named Phil Anderson, who's a real gem of a guy, still records. But really proud of those albums. And then we did the push. We tried. We got some interest from a few labels, but it never kind of got over the top.
Right.
Which again.
So did you want it to, was that your goal?
Or
were you guys...
Right, like professional musician.
At the time, you have the starry eyes. But we were practical enough. We all got, basically degrees and other things. And so we're still taking care of what we need to take care of. I was probably the one that was mostly
willing to quit everything to just focus
pursue
on
music.
And that's what happens,
Is that the crossroads? That's where you're at, right?
And a few of us... I was more of an adventurous soul at that time.
Right.
I still have a little bit of that, but a few of us, our bass player, our singer, well, they met some of their forever people who started getting married, and then of course the tensions.
Right.
Not tensions with us.
Yeah.
But the
Did you
tensions within the system.
have inter band fights?
Oh there was lots of throwing chairs through windows.
Really?
I
love that.
Yeah.
Every great band fights.
Yeah.
It's just that's their history, right?
Yeah. You know what? We couldn't afford to throw chairs through windows.
Because You have to pay for it. Do you trash hotel rooms? That's what I want to know.
No. I wish I could say I was that kind of hooligan, but Mom raised two respectful gentlemen for that.
Straight-laced, I guess.
So you're doing this. You're traveling. You're rock stars, loving the life. Now, Matt, I know that you're married. When did you meet your wife and where?
Yeah.
Was she like a groupie?
No.
Okay.
No, she would be the anti.
Yeah. I love it.
I needed an anti-groupie, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Somebody to bring me down to earth.
That's great.
In a great way.
Yeah. Where did you meet her?
So I met her at Eastside Marriott's in Spruce Grove.
Really?
And I'll tell this story. It's the only time I've ever been fired from a job, and I earned it. So I was
at Eastside Marriott's.
No, I was working at Boston Pizza. And at that time, a ton of great friends from Boston Pizza.
Yeah.
By the way, Joe, who owned it at the time.
Yeah.
We've had Joe Scalzo. We've had this conversation, so he's
So
aware of this. So I'm not letting the cat out of the bag too much.
If you're listening, Joe,
Yeah.
your pizza's still good
Yeah,
pizza.
we love it. We love it.
Yeah.
But working at the bar, too many friends, maybe too many deals under the table. So after about 9 months, Angel sat down with me. I remember her name too.
Yeah.
And said, "Hey, I'm gonna have to let you go." I said, "Yeah, that was."
You knew that was coming, eh? Yeah, you
So
saw
anyway,
that one coming.
ended up getting a job at Eastside Marriott's very quickly after.
Yeah.
From Brent Gitzel, actually, who
Yeah.
owns Sandy.
Yes.
Right. So thanks, Brent. And that's where I met Elizabeth, my wife.
Okay.
So
Was she working
she
there
working
or
there?
just a
she was
customer?
working there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we started working together. We were in different relationships at the time.
Oh.
Mine
okay.
started to go a little sideways, so did hers. And after it went sideways,
there's so much to say here.
these are the,
was
these
it love
are,
at
these
first
are the
sight?
20s.
Come on, be honest. Was it like this is?
You know what? We couldn't not talk to each other and be around each other.
Yeah, there you
so
go.
I think
so. No wonder
but-
your other relationships were going down.
Yeah,
too,
it
right?
was. Yeah,
absolutely.
But it certainly wasn't like this. Like,
yeah,
it was a winding road, a little bit more on my side.
Yeah.
There, in between us fully getting together, there was about a year of me living in Australia and New Zealand.
And why did you just
Thailand.
need to get away?
I needed to get away.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of a reframing.
Right.
In a good way.
Yeah.
You know, like some of the music stuff had been piling up and sort of the tensions there and some life stuff and just, I think I was about 24, 25 and it's that, okay, grow up.
Yeah.
Feel, but I'm not really sure if I'm ready.
Right. Right.
So I left for about a year, but halfway through that, she joined me in Thailand.
Come on.
And we had a great 6 weeks. So I didn't last. I went back to Australia. Then after that, it was pretty sure that I was coming back and she was going to be that girl.
So you weren't in the band anymore. Did she ever hear you play?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So she did. Okay.
Yeah. So then I came back and I was about 26, 27. Anyway, we got engaged at 28.
Yeah.
Married at 29.
Yeah. Wow.
And now 2 boys. And we live just north on the farm. And,
Sure.
And the rest is, I don't know if I'd say history, but
no.
She's still putting up with me. So.
So you came back, Matt. You got married. Where did your career journey take you?
So I sort of, when I came back, there was a few different opportunities. One actually was my dad had started a company called Ranchers Meats, which, if you might recall, it was 2004, I believe, we had that whole mad cow scare.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So my dad had been in government. He was an MP for 16 years.
Okay.
Out of Wetaskiwin in that area. And then he'd worked in the provincial government for a number of years. So we're a 4th generation cattle farm.
Yeah.
So people started calling and saying, hey, as somebody that's been around it, what can we do here as farmers? Because meat prices and beef were
tanked. It was killing farmers.
It was.
I know that my cousin was a beef farmer at the time.
And the industry, as it unfortunately still is it was fairly monopolistic, right?
Yeah.
So at the time there were a couple different groups in Alberta and Saskatchewan and other places trying to get co-ops together. And Ranchers was a co-op. And it eventually got to a place where they almost opened a meatpacking plant here in Atchison.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay.
Which
yeah.
is now just across the road there, and I think it's a government sort
Oh,
of
okay.
repository.
Yeah. The
Yes.
warehouse there.
Warehouse.
The big
Yeah,
warehouse.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked there for about 2-ish years.
Okay.
Which had some awesome experiences.
Yeah.
We when they got the building done, we went down. There was a purchase of all of the interior machinery components from a packing plant in Mississippi that had gone through all kinds of legal things.
Yeah.
Was a bit of a was I think a bit of a money laundering thing. Right. But so we went down and bought all that stuff, brought it up here. So I worked doing some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, unfortunately, with pricing, so by this time it was about 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And if you recall,
then
everything got expensive.
Yeah.
So that was I foray into that, and then I had a foray into the financial world with financial planning and all kinds of different things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that I enjoyed, but as we were getting close to having our first son, it was okay. What do I want to do?
Right.
And so I started asking friends, and a friend of mine, his mom worked at a recruiting firm, and connected me with kind of a whole foray of opportunities.
Sure.
Which ended up being the Edmonton Construction Association.
Okay.
That's 13, 14 years ago
Wow.
now too. So I've been there. A good time, right?
So, but let me ask you a question. So you say you were 4th generation cattle farmers.
Yep.
Did you ever think maybe I know the market was terrible.
Yeah.
But did you ever think maybe I want to do this? Maybe I want to be a rancher. Maybe I want to.
I wish I could say yes.
Yeah,
At the
you didn't
time
wanna
it
do
was.
it. Yeah.
Well, we still have some cattle. We have 50 head. So very, very sort of casual.
Sure. 50 head. You have 50 head.
Yeah. But when I was growing up, we had about 150.
Okay.
My dad was always working full time. Mom worked full time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it always
It's a lot of
had
work.
been
It's a
that.
lot.
Yeah. A lot of work.
Yeah.
So again, the idea of Kate, and you see it now. If you want to make a living at it,
Yeah,
you
you've
got
got to
to
work.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is your full time job.
It is.
Yeah.
Well,
It
yeah,
is.
it is. Yeah, we're gonna have 27 head here coming up.
Yeah.
and luckily I don't have to do it, but it's a full time caretaker.
It is.
job.
It
really
is. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad, and I'm glad we're still doing it, and
Yeah.
the boys get to see it now. And as you age, or as I've aged,
Yeah.
you sort of see it more for what it is. I think you got to
Absolutely.
grow into it
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But it was never something where it was sort of like, okay, let's
Yeah.
take this big.
Let's do it full time. Go after it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a person who has multiple interests anyway.
Sure.
So some people I know they can find their passion project and
Yeah.
go, I have too many passions. At least that's what my wife.
No, that's good. I think that's good. That's like I can relate to that.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Speaking of the choir,
So anyway, we won't talk about it. It's not about me today. It's all about you. But well, that's really cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so you joined
Edmonton
the Edmonton Construction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had not been around not-for-profits, and I certainly didn't really understand, what the Edmonton Construction Association was. I'd been around a bit of home building and other things, but not from the side of understanding the industry. So I got engaged there as a marketing communications person, and then quickly got to know sort of what the association land was like,
Right.
and membership associations and business associations. I don't have to tell you guys.
Yeah.
So they're cool places, right?
So tell us a little bit, what is the role of the
Yeah,
Edmonton? What do you
so-
guys? Why do you exist?
Yeah, so we're the largest construction association in Western Canada for
okay.
commercial ICI. So
Yeah.
we touch a bit of institutional, a little bit of industrial, but mostly commercial construction.
Okay.
And we have about 1,000 member firms.
Really?
From your bigs, your PCLs, Ledcors, Elistons,
yeah,
all the
yeah.
way to mom and pops who work in the commercial industry.
Sure.
And we're really designed. It's close to a 100-year organization. It was designed at the beginning, and still we do, is to provide opportunities to those members on procurement.
Sure.
So we still manage the procurement opportunities through all of the public entities. So that would be your province and cities, regional,
Right.
all that. And then there's an advocacy and government engagement component, of course.
Sure.
And then you get into things no different than any business association with networking, education
Yeah,
opportunities, all kinds of different things.
Wow.
But I've enjoyed it because construction is
Yeah.
a fantastic industry.
Yeah.
We have a lot of shining star companies that have come out of Edmonton.
Yeah.
The PCLs,
Yeah.
Tex,
Yeah.
right, Clark's, all those.
For sure. Yeah.
So, and then for me, it's really the people, right? I mean, I'm a people person, and those, you get to support an industry. You get to sort of stand in between certain issues on behalf of an industry.
Yeah.
But our board is, over the years, I've gotten to know a ton of great leaders, no different than the ABA board or
Yeah.
any of these
Yeah.
boards. You get to know a ton of great people who are really serving our community.
Right.
And supporting what I think is great city building, right?
for sure.
Great industry building.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt, we'll see if you want to tell us this or not, but what's next for Matt Schellenberger? What's we know something, but are you going to announce this? Is this,
Do you want to announce it here on our podcast?
Yeah, this
would
is
be
it.
like
This is it.
we love cutting edge news.
It's breaking news, Matt.
Breaking ABA Coffee in the Park breaking news with Matt Schellenberger. Okay, Matt.
Yeah, well, I was just saying to Cam, I got my paperwork in on Friday, so I'm officially running for Division 3 Parkland County councillor.
Fantastic.
It is
Yeah,
fantastic.
it is. I'm excited. Thank
Okay,
you.
Parkland
Yeah.
3, there it is.
Yeah.
Or Division 3, there
Yeah.
it is. You heard it here.
You
okay.
heard it here.
Good,
So,
good.
You'll be seeing me at your doors.
So
and you'll
why?
be see-
Yeah, well, no, but it's a
No,
good.
it's- it
is. It is.
It is.
Yeah.
And I say it a bit tongue in cheek, only because we
Yeah.
know enough to know enough. But it's like, well, why?
Yeah, people ask me. So there's the why generally, and
Yeah.
I think there's the why Parkland County. Why generally, it's in my DNA.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Your dad,
for
obviously.
sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
I grew up at a kitchen table where my mom, who's a self-identified sort of leftist, and my dad, a right conservative.
Wow.
Were
I bet
cross
those were interesting.
They were
over pork chops. That was probably a pretty interesting
It
dinner.
was. I got
Yeah, you
I
got
think
both
a good education
both
on
ends
those
of the
things.
deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's been something I've cared about and talked about for a long
Sure.
time. Not necessarily running, but just politics generally. And for me, the opportunity with Parkland County is municipal politics. To me, is sort of that like it's the ground level,
Right.
but it's important
Yeah.
to understand how government is really, working
sure.
with community.
Yeah.
It's outside of parties. I know parties are creeping in here now in Edmonton and Calgary, but here it's still not.
Yeah.
And I think, if you're going to, wherever my career goes in terms of politics, and if I do provincial or federal, you got to understand, the municipal side
Absolutely.
first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
It's the grassroots of it.
It is.
It really is.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
whether if you're in an urban area or a rural area, it's the grassroots.
It
of
is.
So.
It is. And I think, again, the Tri-Region has so much opportunity in front of it.
Right.
But, my work with the Edmonton Construction Association has taught me how municipal politics can impact growth and development.
For sure.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to be a part of some of the decision making.
Well, I think this is great. I like when you say things like I'm starting here and who knows where it'll end.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I hope that one day we're looking back on our podcast and we say we had that prime minister on our podcast.
my goodness, that's a
or that
high bar
premier
that
on our podcast. So I've been known to call that out a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'm just saying. I think Mr. Premier. Anyway, Danielle, we still love you. You're awesome.
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
Yeah. Not there yet. No.
But you know what, Matt? I just want to say thank you for doing
Yeah.
that because public service is really hard.
Especially these days.
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
these
no,
days.
it really is.
And we need great people like you
appreciate
running.
that. Thank you.
Politicians are, I think, it's a tough job. And
It is.
It's tough on your family, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you've weighed all that.
Yeah.
Did you have conversation with your dad? Did you sit down and say, Dad?
Yeah.
And did he give you that great
Words,
sage
wisdom,
advice?
wisdom?
Yeah, I will say when I told him that I was doing it, there was a bit of a, you feel this warmth of it, and he's super excited.
Yeah. Had a
he's
smile on
already
his face.
he's already ready to say start talking about
He's gonna be out
the
there
doors,
knocking on
the
doors,
issues,
yeah.
the other thing, and he's
Good for him.
He's still as connected as ever.
Oh,
so
that's fantastic.
in terms of
So,
the issues and
yeah.
what he wants to do,
That's
so,
fantastic.
So yeah, I look forward to doing this with a lot of people. It takes a village.
Yeah.
No different
It
than
does.
right
For sure.
But I am looking forward to doing it with him.
Well, thanks for letting us in on it. That's great.
It's
Well,
my
Matt,
pleasure.
30 minutes.
That's been almost
We're
30 minutes.
Almost 30
Doesn't
minutes.
take long.
It
So-
doesn't take long. One
Nope.
final question.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've been given, either personally or professionally, that you carry with you to this day?
So, one of the things that's hard for people, I think, and a lot of people, and I got to remind myself, and I've been given tons of advice over the years by a lot of great mentors, but when we talk about being our best in every situation, so one mentor always said to me, and I sort of I gleaned it from him, and he said, I always try and lead where I stand. So when I'm in a situation,
it's good.
Well, how am I giving my best in that situation? Whether it's being open, whether it's being communicative, listening to people, and then providing, right? So leadership is an everyday choice, right?
That's right.
And it's how we show up, and it's the curiosity, it's all those types of things. So I always think about that, and it's impossible to always be perfect at those things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if we think about those things in a positive mindset, I think we're going to give our best in every
sure.
moment. Yeah. So
Well, that's
Fantastic.
great.
Excellent advice. Wow. Well, thanks.
This
it's
has
a
been
pleasure.
great.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you
been
so
great.
much, Matt.
And all
Thank
the
you.
best to you, and we'll be watching.
yeah,
Well,
I'm
Schellenberger.
excited.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's right,
Thank
Paul
you.
Schellenberger. That's right. Search his band out on iTunes
know.
and see
I
if,
wanna
it,
see
it's
if it's
there.
actually there.
We should have asked him if it's on iTunes. But yeah, what a great story. What a great guy. Matt's a really awesome
Matt's
guy.
a fantastic guy.
Yeah, really appreciate him taking the time. So yeah, good podcast. Thanks everybody for listening. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to tell your friends, your neighbors, your business associates, your enemies. If you don't have a friend, make one so you can tell them about the ABA Coffee in the Park podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or you can go to www.atchisonbusiness.com and download them there.
And subscribe.
Yes, subscribe.
That's important.
Because then you'll be reminded every time a new podcast comes up.
Every Thursday at noon.
Yeah, it's exciting. But thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. See you next week.